In today's show, we discuss, has CERN altered our past?
And now, the TNT Talk Show, daring to go where other podcasts fear to tread.
Hello, I'm Tony Fasula, and I share the stage with my esteemed friend and colleague, Tyre Bowyer. Tyre, hello, my friend, once again. I hope you keep it safe and well.
Yeah, what the hell, Tony? What you gonna do, eh? Hello, audience.
Yes!
The lucky ones die first, I've always said. Anyway, welcome
He's
back.
gone back to his droll work.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Wait, you know why Tony's so blooming happy? And have you heard, ladies and gentlemen, have you heard this expression, living the life of Riley? We've got to stop saying that. There is someone amongst us whose life seems to be a constant whirlwind of fun, wine, women, even though he's married, but not women in a bad way, just company when the pictures on Instagram, surrounded by a bevy of beauties. And he's on beaches, and there's invariably sumptuous feasts in front of him, and a glass of wine in his hand, and is always in some far-off land, some exotic land. And he's the one who is laughing and can't stop laughing, and I'm not really surprised because it's living the life of Tony. We're all going to stop saying living the life of Riley from now on. We're going to say living the life of Tony. And I've started using it in real life, by the way. So I said to my wife, we gotta get some more dosh, man, and start living the life of Tony.
It's nothing to do with that. We're just very wise with our money and just picking real great deals on holidays. The holidays are our thing, and yes, we go on holidays, and they're not extravagant holidays. It's just we like holidays. We like going away, and yeah, there you go. Just come back from a lovely place, and I'm refreshed and raring to go on our show.
He's always telling me of these places. I've never even heard of them. Where the hell is Cape Verde? Okay, whatever, you know.
It's near Africa, off the coast of Africa, actually.
Yeah, well, obviously, you know, what do I know? Milton Keynes is about as far as I bloody go. That's it for me. So if I go, at the beginning, you can understand why.
Indeed.
I've got a question for you.
Go on.
If the supernatural is the true explanation for the origin of the universe, right? So it's counterfactual.
Okay.
If the supernatural is the true explanation for the origin of the universe, then because science eschews the supernatural explanation, whatever scientists say about cosmological origins will always be wrong. True or false?
False.
Hey?
Because the supernatural thing, we don't know. There's no evidence.
No, I said given that it's true. So in this counterfactual, it's true. The universe was created by supernatural means.
Right.
But the science says no, it wasn't. So science will never be right. Because it has excluded that possibility.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what
you're using it's a philosophical argument rather than one that could even be true, because you'd want to back it up. If you want to use that as just a thought experiment, which is what that is, then yeah, maybe I agree with you, because then what's the point of scientists then?
Scientists will be to map out what is the supernatural's. In fact, do you know who said this? Sir Isaac Newton. He said that science, or I think it was called naturalism in his day, the philosophy of naturalism, that it is meant to divine the laws of God. What did the intelligence, the creator, what did he do and how did he do it? And obviously he gave us intelligence, and so we can figure it out. So he wants us to figure it out. And that's what Sir Isaac Newton's idea was, that science is to investigate the means by which the Creator created the world. But if you've already said, if you've excluded that possibility, and it turns out to be
Science
true.
has excluded that possibility.
Oh yeah, the supernatural is not allowed in science and in scientific modern scientific. I wouldn't even call it a method. Modern scientific philosophy says you can't allow the God theory into the room because
Well, no, because the God theory is not based on any facts that's corroborated. Whereas some of the things that they're coming back with are actual factuals that can be measured through data. And that's the missing ingredient. There's some measurement involved. With supernatural, there is no measurement involved. And
you've ever heard of dark
why
energy?
Dark energy? Well, the maths still point to something.
Well,
And they're speculating, aren't they?
as Sabine Hossenfelder said, if it said, oh my God, I can't remember the exact quote. If you think that maths, that because somebody can write some mathematics that is hard for you to follow means that they're telling the truth and there's a fact like that, she's got bridges to sell you in London. That's what she said.
Yeah, I get
You
that.
can't write
that's
a
bit of
mathematical.
cop-out. I remember her saying something like this. So we're not digressing entirely, by the way, from the topic, ladies and gentlemen. There is an element of this here, but we'll carry on.
Well, should we just get on with it and tell them why this is a philosophical kind of show?
Well, what we're going to talk about today is an interesting one because it's not definite hard facts, but there's some real weird anomalies, and we're discussing. Has CERN altered our past? Now, we need to describe, there might be some listeners out there, listeners and viewers, who don't even know what CERN is. So do you want to give a little rundown as to what CERN is, and then why are we putting a finger of blame to them that they may have
Finger
altered
of blame.
yeah. Have they altered our past?
I would like to. Do you know what? I thought I saved it. What's the actual blooming meaning of CERN? CERN. Central European Research something. Is
Yeah,
it?
do you know what? I don't have the actual
Yeah,
definition.
I put it down somewhere and then. Okay, here we go. It's not in English. That's why the European Organization for Nuclear Research.
Yeah.
But obviously that's not CERN because it's not originally in English. So what is the English of it? Then I have zero idea. In French, organisation. What? I can't speak French. I'm not even going to try. And anyway, how can you start with organisation if it's C? Does C? No, okay. I don't know why it's CERN.
Whatever it stands for, it's where the Large Hadron Collider is. It's the one. It's buried in France, and it's a 25 kilometer circle buried under the ground. It's huge, by the way. It costs billions to make, and many countries are involved. And this collider is designed to accelerate particles around it at near the speed of light, where eventually these particles will hit one another. And it's not the easiest thing to do, but they will try and do it. And the idea is to discover things about physics, about the particles. When they collide, they smash into one another and release other particles, and if we learn about those particles, we can work out formula about how the universe was created. There's also the other angle, the other benefit, which I think is primarily the main reason how they got the money to get it funded in the first place, is if these little particles hit one another at a certain angle, they will fuse together and release a huge amount of energy. And if they do, and we discover how that works, we can then create fusion reactors, which are clean energy, and it's abundant, it's totally clean, there's no radiation leakage, it's just pure energy. And basically, if they can discover that, then our world's energy needs are supplied and fixed forever. We wouldn't have to worry about fossil fuels ever again. So that's the bigger reason for CERN. But the other reason is to study these particles when they hit one another. And there you go. Now, but the question we're asking is, in doing these tests, at CERN, where they're throwing these particles around this huge tube at incredible speeds, could they have accidentally had changes to our timeline? Have they changed the past? Have they altered things? And this is the crux of what we're going to talk about today. So, Tayo, why did you, because this is your topic, why did you want to talk about this particular one in particular? Why do you think the past has been altered?
May have been altered. Well, the reason is because I had no idea that CERN was as old as it is. So it's actually CERN, stands for Conseil Européen pour les Recherches Nucléaires. All the French people who want to jump out of windows right now, just too bad. European Council for Nuclear Research, basically.
Yeah.
But in French, so that's why it's CERN. Now, I had no idea. If you had asked me a few weeks ago, when was CERN built and completed, I'd have probably said like late 90s, early noughties, something like that. I thought it was a pretty recent building or construction. Turns out it was formed on the 29th of September 1954. 71 years ago. I didn't even think they had the technology 71 years ago.
Are you sure about that one?
Sorry? Well,
I'm
I'm reading it off the Wikipedia page.
Really? You sure that's not when the funding was agreed?
It says formation here.
Well, yeah.
It was
I
ratified in 1954. Oh, wait, no, it was established in 1952. And yeah, 1954. 2 years to build the thing. I thought it was longer than that.
No, it was years and years to build it.
Anyway, so let me see. I'm going to send you the link so that other people can go and find it for themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to share that. And it just took me aback. I thought 1950s. Where did they get the technology from?
No, I think it's only recently been completed because remember they had problems turning it on. This was about 10.
It's probably when the events happened, idiots.
10 to 15 years ago.
1973, the discovery of central currents in the oh my gosh, these French names. Gargamel bubble chamber. So the first significant achievement was in 1973. So it had been bubbling along before then. And 1973. 1983 was another one. The discovery of Y and Z bosons. Or bosons, I think they're called. Not bosons, but bosons, I think. 1989, the determination of the number of light neutrino families. 1995, the creation of anti-hydrogen atoms. So it really kicked off in 1973. But apparently it was there from about 1953. Maybe it was switched on later, but definitely they were achieving things by 1973. So earlier than I had thought. Now, I didn't pay much attention to this until there was recently, say 2024 or 2025, I don't remember which year. There was this scientist who started he made some warnings. He gave some warnings. He said that we're actually messing around at some level with the fabric of the universe, and how do we know precisely what we're doing? And he made some other people perk up and go, when did they start messing around with the antimatter and things like that? The discovering the boson. This is the Higgs boson, and it was 2012. So a bit too late. But in the noughties, that is say the 2000s to 2010 and so on and so forth. In some people's minds, I've got a joke for you. In some people's minds, the conspiracy theorists, they started thinking, isn't that about the time that a very interesting phenomenon popped its head up? A very interesting phenomenon is the Mandela Effect. Now, as our audience will know, Tony is far better at explaining things than I am. So let Tony explain the Mandela effect, and then I'll come back to it again.
The Mandela Effect, for those of you that aren't aware of it, is where many people believe something has happened in the past of which it hasn't, in other words. And there's a famous case with Nelson Mandela of when he died. Many people falsely believed he died on one particular year when he didn't. And that's where the name derives from. But it can be attributed to many other things in history, which we'll touch on during the show, where people are convinced, absolutely convinced, and not just one or two people, we're talking hundreds on thousands of people convinced a particular event happened in a certain way, but then there is no evidence to show that. It's different. And we're going to touch on that during the show. I mean, one of the interesting ones is, well, there's many really. One that I want to bring, and it's sort of a bit daft, but some people may agree to it, is the Fruit of the Loom logo. I don't know if you're aware of this Fruit of the Loom logo. I even had clothing in the past with Fruit of the Loom logo on it, and behind the logo is a thing called a cornucopia, and it looks like a big funnel shape. And I'll be honest with you, when I first saw that, I didn't know what that was, and someone mentioned to me and said, oh, that's a cornucopia, and I went, what's that? And so I had to look it up. Back then it was in dictionary, encyclopedia, apologies, to see what a cornucopia was, because we didn't have the internet. Oh, well, okay.
It's a mythical. It's from Greek mythology, and it's an endless supply of well, I think it's fruits and sort of the fruits of the gods or whatever, and it's a conch. It's like a huge shell, and the more you pour out of it, the more comes out of it. It's sort of like infinite supply of something. So that's why we speak about the cornucopia of this and that, this or that. And like you're saying, I mean, I don't know if you're not familiar, if you're unfamiliar with what we're talking about, it will just sound like we're talking, well, Greek to you, because you won't know what but if you just look up Fruits of the Loom, you're probably, many of you are going to go, where's the cornucopia thing? Because I'm telling you, there's no way there was no cornucopia.
I know.
If you grew up at a certain time, if you're a boomer or maybe a millennial like Tony is, it's not even a question. There's no. It's like when it was like, where is the cornucopia? It's you ask the question that, hang on, something's wrong here, and a lot of people feel that way, and that's part of the Mandela effect. So people think or remember. Not me. I don't have this. I don't have this feeling that President Mandela, when he died, I'm trying to figure out what year.
1994.
Yeah, but when did they think he died? When was the Mandela effect?
The Mandela effect was before then, way before then.
They think he died in prison.
Yeah.
Yes. So a lot of people remember that he died in prison. I think they remember he never became president.
That's right.
That's it. That's the Mandela effect. And that's why it's called the Mandela effect, because it's named for this memory that President Nelson Mandela died in prison and was never elected president of South Africa. Now, I don't have that memory. I remember him being president of South Africa and going around and everything as president. So I'm not one of those who has that memory. But it's not one or two people
do, don't they?
Exactly.
This is what's crazy. It's not just one or two. It's thousands and thousands. And so why have they all got this memory? And it's bizarre. And there are many examples of this. It's like the Fruit of the Loom one. Now, if you're not familiar, I mean, we'll try and put a picture, but I bet we won't be able to because of copyright issues, because obviously the Fruit of the Loom logo is part of a company's brand, so we may not be able to do that. But if we can't, then obviously just search online on any of your favourite browsers and do search Fruit of the Loom logo. And the current one will have no cornucopia. And the company, Fruit of the Loom, will say they've never had a cornucopia. But you can find other images of Fruit of the Loom with the cornucopia in the background, and those are the ones that the majority of people, including myself, I would swear blind. Well, I know because I had a piece of clothing with that logo. So how on earth is it not there now? What? To me, it doesn't make sense, because that's how I asked the question. What was that thing? What was it? Because there's fruit there and this thing behind the fruit. What is that? And that's when I was told it was a cornucopia, and I had to look it up. So now they're telling me, oh no, we've never had one on the logo.
You say, but hang on, I remember it's been shown to me.
Yeah,
so it's not a question where I just sort of have this vague memory. No, I remember an incident. I mean, that's so. By the way, let's just correct what we said, because so we don't want to mislead our audience on purpose. We don't mind misleading them by accident. That's just us. The President Mandela, the Mandela Effect is named after the widespread memory that Nelson Mandela died in prison during the 1980s, when in reality he was released in 1990, became president of South Africa, and died in 2013.
2013?
2013. And you said
1994 he became president, or died. Oh, God.
No, became president in 94, I think.
Right, okay.
But he died in prison. Sorry, no, he didn't die in prison. But he died in 2013. Because I think this was after the South African... Wasn't it after the South African football thing, World Cup in South Africa, 2012 or something? Anyway.
They won it in 1995. South Africa did it. The first time.
No, when it was hosted with those horrible Vuvuzela things.
Yeah. No, you're talking the Rugby World Cup, or you're talking the Football World Cup?
Football.
Oh, Football World Cup. That was 20...
I would say 2012.
No, it wasn't 2012. 2010.
Anyway.
2010.
Well, anyway, so he died after is my point.
Yes.
He didn't die before then, okay? So, there was, I don't know if she still was or is alive, a woman called Fiona Broom. Fiona Broom, I'm assuming she's white South African. That sounds like a Boer name. Who discovered that she's a paranormal researcher, by the way, and she coined the term in 2009. She discovered that many others shared her vivid but incorrect memory of Mandela's death. So I think the story goes that she was talking to someone, and the person said President Mandela. She said, "What do you mean, President Mandela?" What do you mean, President Mandela? Say, yeah, Nelson Mandela, he died in prison. And she was so adamant about it. And then when she was shown, she was just totally shocked. I thought, how could I have this memory? It's ridiculous. Just like you feel about the cornucopia.
Yeah.
And then she found out, but I don't know how she did it. Maybe she wrote articles or whatever. She found out that so many others were like, no, what? Really? That sort of thing. I find that very peculiar that people would not know that Mandela became president. But there we go. So that started it off. And then there was a trickle of other things being mentioned, which I wish this was more like a live telecast we were doing. Okay. Because there are one or two that, like you, I'm prepared to swear in a court of law, no, it was like this.
I know.
And for me, mine is the Monopoly Man.
Oh, I know. The Monopoly Man, just to mention, is an image of the main character of the Monopoly game, and his actual name is Rich Uncle Pennybags. That's
I didn't
his
know
actual
that.
name, yeah. And he's, if you can imagine, an old gent, cartoon drawn, big white moustache, monocle, top hat, and dressed poshly. And I, like Tayo, remember him with a monocle, with a top hat, gentlemanly. Apparently now, he has never, ever had a monocle. And I'm with Tayo here. I would swear blind he had a monocle.
Absolutely.
He had one.
He had a monocle.
It's like, what? What? How is this possible? Who has changed the history? It's not right. He had a monocle. I'm with you. And the makers of the game say that he's never had a monocle, ever. And the pictures they roll out of Mr. Moneybags, Rich Uncle Pennybags, hey, he's never had a monocle on old card images or nothing. But I can swear he's had a monocle. He has. It's just ridiculous. How is that possible?
And I wonder how many of our audience are jumping up now to their feet and saying, I need to check this out because I don't believe I don't believe it. And yeah, I'm looking at it now, and it looks so sort of bogus to me. Like there's something
Without
missing.
it, yeah.
And by the way, looking at the image, right? Because this would be another test. Looking at the image, did he have? So you're looking at the image, or let me make it him from his perspective. Did he wear the monocle on the right eye or on the left eye?
Left eye.
Left eye. Why do we both say left eye?
It's left eye.
See, but hang on. But why would we both say left eye? If it was a false memory, how many people remember it in the other eye? This is what I'm saying.
Good point, yeah.
Why
I
is it
think
the
it's
left
because
eye?
when on the drawings, he was always facing. If I'm looking at the drawing now, he's always facing the left.
Yes.
So he's got his eye.
No, it's facing
and
the
his
right. It's
nose
facing the
is-
right,
yeah,
actually.
as if he's pointing to the left way. Yeah, so he's looking to the left. So you're seeing the eye, the one with the monocle, facing us. Does that make sense? And that's the left eye, and that's where the monocle was. 100%. That's where the monocle was. But now they're saying no, he's never had a monocle.
I would love to know. I would love someone to carry out research and find out how many people remember the monocle, and then how many think it was on the right. Because if everybody thinks it was on the left, that needs to be explained. That means we all think it was on the left. Because it was on the flipping left.
We can't all be having this same incorrect memory. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, one of the big ones for me, and I think this one is an absolutely, slam dunk. And I would have bet all the money I own on this one. And this is the James Bond film Moonraker.
Mm-hmm.
Where
Moonraker. Oh!
Yes, Moonraker. Now, those of you that aren't familiar with this particular film, it's no spoiler here, but there's a big character called Jaws, and he was a huge guy, 6'4", 5", and in the film he had these metal teeth, and he appeared in several James Bond films, and in this particular one, Moonraker, it was the last one he appeared in. And there's a famous scene where he killed somebody right in front of this petite little blonde woman who was subsequently, we discovered her name was Dolly. She was tiny, little pigtails,
Yes.
blonde. And it was like a comedic moment because you got this huge guy and this tiny little blonde girl, and the connection that they had, he smiled at her with his metal glowing teeth, and she smiled back because she had braces, the metal braces. Okay, and it was an iconic moment, and everyone was like, "Oh, what a link! That's quite amusing." That's what built the connection between the two, and it was almost a comedic scene in the film because it's a mutual recognition.
He
of
grimaced
each
it,
other's-
actually. It wasn't a smile. He grimaced at her
It was,
initially.
He couldn't really do a grimace, but
He
yeah.
grimaced at her, and then she with her
She's-
softness,
Yeah.
because she smiled at him, and then the
With
grimace
metal.
turned into a smile.
And it was the link.
it was because they
between the
both
two.
had metallic braces.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sort of love at first sight
Yes,
sort of
yes.
effect. Yeah. And now, I mean, this is how I remember this film. I mean, this is an iconic moment, not just for me, for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who have watched this film. Okay? That was a key moment in the film. Now, if you go back to Moonraker and look at the film, no braces on Dolly, the girl. No braces. It's like, hold on. How? That was the whole point of that scene. It was the bit where they shared a commonality, a bit that they, both had an impairment in their teeth. And that's what gave them that connection. You're now telling me she had nothing, perfectly straight teeth, no issues. And the film, you go back and look at the film, that's exactly what you see. It's like, hold on, how?
In that case, what was the connection?
Yeah, exactly. What was the connection? Who has altered the timeline? What is going on here? And apparently there was a video which now cannot be found where they interviewed the actress, and her name was Blanche Ravalek. That was the name, Dolly, the actress.
Yes.
Where she discusses the braces in the interview. Now, the thing is, now, can't find the interview. Can't find it. Gone. Disappeared off the face of the earth. It's like, what? What? How? How is this possible? What is going on here? So we're being flummoxed. So these Mandela effects, there's just not one or two. There are many of them out there. I mean, we've only touched on a couple here. May bring a few more to the table. But the CERN angle, we'll go back to CERN. Could there, this is part of the issue that we're going to discuss, could the testing that went on there somehow didn't change the past, but changed our memory? So this timeline, these things don't exist in it, but we have rippled across to the stable timeline, which is this one, but it is ever so slightly off from the one that we were in previously. And what has moved is our mind. Our memory of that previous timeline is still intact, but we've now moved into this one, which then obviously doesn't have those memories in it. So you go back, Jaws doesn't have, Dolly doesn't have the braces. The cornucopia doesn't exist on Fruit of the Loom, because in this timeline, it didn't exist. Whereas our memory was in a different timeline that we've just now bounced into this one because of CERN. CERN have changed something, totally unaware, but certain people have been affected by it. And not everybody, because the Mandela Effect, thinking about Nelson Mandela himself, most of us remember him being Prime Minister. But there is a group and a significant number of people, President Mandela, a significant number of people, and I'm talking millions of people, who believe that he died in prison. So what happened there? Were they affected and not everybody else? It's a conundrum. It doesn't make sense. And we're scratching our heads here as to what could be the answer.
Well, here's the thing. Well, first of all, I want to say that if this timeline is the wrong one, that means that Trump shouldn't have won a second term. And that's the proof that we're in the wrong timeline. And I said to you earlier, I said, I want to tell you a joke. It's not, something humorous rather than a joke. When you look at the Epstein files, okay, eventually, after you go past all the horror and everything, you realize that you know a lot of conspiracy theorists some of whom may be your friends, that you need to go back and apologize to because it turns out they were right. And this guy, I'm dreading coming up with to meet him because he was always banging on about this stuff. It's all connected. It's all connected. I was like, dude, stop, okay? All right, just stop. And then it's like, yeah, okay, it was all connected. Damn it. And imagine you find out that this is the wrong timeline. Yeah, a lot of people are going to say, I want my money back, man. What the hell is this? This is pants, okay?
Oh.
Well,
I'm agreeing with you.
something very wrong. All of us running around saying, I got this feeling that something's wrong. Yes, we all have a feeling that something's wrong. They gotta switch CERN off, man. Okay, or get them to read whatever
Redo
they
what
did.
Yeah. Could they?
Oh,
correct
I want to
it?
ask you, because there are a couple of these Mandela Effect things. If you know it, but don't spoil it for the audience. But Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker.
Okay.
Do you remember what Darth Vader said to Luke when they were standing by the whatever it is, the gravity well or whatever it was?
Yeah.
Do you remember what he said to him?
Well, Luke said to Darth Vader, "You killed my father," and Darth Vader replied, "No, I am your father."
Okay, so I don't remember that. That's not the line I remember at all. I remember Luke. I remember search your feelings, Luke. I am your father. So not the search your feelings, but Luke. I am your father. And you say no. I am. As who said no? No. But this time you and I are different. So that's interesting.
Well, I'm not totally convinced. I'll be honest. I had to look that one up.
Oh, so you looked at no. I wanted you to go from your memory.
From my memory, I wasn't 100% sure. So when I saw it, and it said, "No, I am your father," and I'm like, really?
Uh-huh.
Really what was said? I was not 100% convinced, but because my memory wasn't that strong of the original, I sort of went with that one to be corrected in my thinking. But if you had to ask me before I saw that, I would have said no. He would have said, "Luke, I am your father."
Well, there you go. Luke, I am your father.
Search your feelings, I am your father.
Exactly. Search your feelings. I am your father. So
Apparently he said, "No, I am your father." It's like,
which doesn't even have the same bang for the buck, does it?
no, it doesn't. It doesn't.
So anyway,
this is bizarre. There's too many of these.
there's too many of them. By the way, I want to make a quick correction. You said Richard Kiel, the actor who played Jaws, was 6'4". I'm 6'4", so I didn't think that was right.
Oh,
He was actually 7 foot tall, 7'2".
Oh, 7'2".
Yeah, I mean he died in 2014, so he left us quite a while ago. But he was a tallish
He was
gentleman.
very tall. Very tall.
And lastly, and then we'll get off the Mandela Effect and we'll start talking about what CERN could have done. Lastly, what do you remember about? Oh, unless you've read it. I mean, if it's not from your memory, okay. But do you know about the what was it? Snow White and the Wicked
No.
Queen?
No.
What did she say? What did she say to the mirror?
Mirror, mirror. Is this the Wicked Queen? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
She actually said, "Magic mirror on the wall."
Magic mirror.
Yes.
No. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? That's what she said.
Yeah. No. Magic mirror on the wall.
She did not say magic mirror.
She did say magic mirror. On the
No,
wall.
no. I disagree. I disagree.
So what this is? This could be a real case, a true case of false memory, or confused memory, and I'll tell you why. In the German book, this is the Grimm brothers.
Yeah.
The German original written form was "Mirror, mirror on the wall."
Oh.
That was the original. And in the fairy tale books, especially when I was young, the one my grandmother gave me, a huge book like this.
Yeah.
It was Mirror, Mirror on the Wall.
That's
However,
what I
in the
remember.
Disney film, they changed it. But that doesn't excuse the fact that many people saw the Disney film and still thought it was Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. But it was not. It was Magic Mirror on the Wall. So Disney did their own thing, so to speak.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes, and for some people who weren't lucky enough to have read the original, read the books, they grew up with Magic Mirror on the Wall. But even they think it's Mirror, Mirror on the Wall.
Could it be that you're not hearing the word magic mirror? It's like, I remember seeing a very funny sketch by a British comedian, Peter Kay, where he plays songs on stage through a microphone, but he tells you what he thinks the lyrics are. Now, they're famous songs, but because of his lyrics, he thought certain things a certain way, and then he plays the song, and you now think the lyrics are what he's just said.
Really?
It's hilarious because he puts a weird slant on it. Now, you can search Peter Kay on YouTube and you can find him doing this, and it's hilarious.
What's it
Some
called?
of these famous
what sort
songs.
of thing?
Sorry? I can't think off the top of my head what it was. I mean, some songs about Donna Summer, what she's saying, and this is what I've always thought she said, and then he'll play it.
Misheard lyrics.
The lyrics, yeah, and you get
it's called misheard lyrics.
Misheard lyrics, yes. And you've always thought it's wrong, and he does a brilliant sketch on it. So have a look up for Peter Kay on YouTube. You can find that. And he talks about it. It's a hilarious scene. And I'm thinking this magic mirror from Disney is something that we, having read the original books, which had Mirror, Mirror on it, as soon as she said it in the film, we heard what we knew.
Or we remembered. When we thought back to it, we remembered it as Mirror, Mirror on the Wall.
Mirror from the books, as opposed
from the
to
books, because that's what we grew up with. That's what I grew up with.
Yeah, I did the same. Yeah, Mirror.
And my wife was very good actually, because she was adamant. She said no, it's Mirror, Mirror, and I said no, it's Magic Mirror. She said no, do your research. I hate people when they say do your research. Okay. So I asked AI, and AI was actually there's this book thing, and it was like this. So I said you were right.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to tell the woman she was right. That's not always. That's usually quite a bad day for anybody. You know what I mean?
Okay.
All right. So back to the why would CERN have? Do they have enough power? See, this is where I believe the conspiracy or the theory or whatever you want to call it fails. I don't think that CERN could generate enough power to affect the entire universe. From a universal point of view, the amount of power that CERN puts out is not even a drop in the ocean. It's even less than a drop.
They're not putting out anything, are they?
Sorry?
They're not putting out any power. All they're doing is running an experiment where two particles smash into one another. That's it. It's hardly a power element.
So how is that going to affect the whole universe? I mean, you'd expect something that changes reality to require a lot of energy. But I'm saying that CERN doesn't have that kind of energy.
No, that's true. But I don't think this is to do with energy at all. I think it's to do where there's some theorists who claim that the intensity of the collisions actually destabilizes our vacuum state, forcing our consciousness to slide into the nearest stable parallel reality. So what they're doing is, it's like quantum mechanics now, where they're saying now in quantum computing, when they're using quantum computers to find answers to questions in our standard computers cannot find, whereas quantum computers are almost reaching into a parallel universe to pull out these answers, and they can get these answers far quicker than our standard computers could take billions of years to work out. So what is happening at this stage, because you're entangling particles that science seems to think could be crossing dimensions, and that's how they're getting these answers in these computers. So if they believe, although they haven't proved it with evidence, that timeline is being changed in a way when you're doing quantum computing, because it's going elsewhere to pull out these answers, then could it be a different dimension? And that's all well and good, but when you're smashing particles together, you're creating just a little ripple, but that ripple is enough to mess with the timeline, because we don't know what timeline our timeline's affected, do we? It could be a quantum change. That's all that's needed, and that tiny ripple could cascade out and change people in a whole continent or a whole half of the planet. We don't know. It just seems really strange that coincidentally that things are happening since 2012, which 2012 was when the Hadron Collider started getting success with the particle collisions. So it's an odd one. We don't actually have facts here, but it could be. I mean, 2012 has got a significance for the Mayan calendar as well, if you remember.
Well, everyone was expecting the end of history, weren't they? Because that's
Yeah.
when the Mayan calendar ran out. And it'd be hilarious if it turns out to be true about this interference from CERN, that it happened in 2012. Because in a way, then the Mayans were right. But history really did end in 2012.
Well, our history did. And
Well,
now,
they were in that history that ended, so they were right
Yes.
from their point of view.
from their point of view, but we have moved. So we've just flipped into a different timeline. So 2012 could have caused a problem with the timeline, the existing one that we were all familiar with, but now we're in a parallel one, which is by and large similar, but they're tiny little changes that we notice, and some of them, let's be honest, a lot of them are insignificant in the scale of things, and that's all that the ripple probably is done. It's maybe pushed us into a different timeline with these small changes that aren't huge, thankfully, apart from Donald Trump. But other than that one,
Other than that, what about men can be women and women can be men? I mean, there's all sorts of weird things happening now that you wouldn't have thought very likely. But I think Donald Trump does take the cake. I mean, he really comes out tops on unlikely things that unlikely things that would happen. I mean, yeah. So okay, so there's no evidence that CERN actually altered any timelines.
no.
And
This is
physics
pure
does not
speculation.
support macroscopic reality rewrites. And if reality were altered, why would it be on logos and movie quotes? You know, you'd expect, I don't know, 2 suns maybe, or I remember when there's only 1 sun, you know, that sort of thing.
Well,
maybe
that's
changing.
the whole point. The whole point is that if we have this theory of multiple universes, that as well, but multiple timelines in regard to these multiple universes, the timelines can't be that different. They can't be. There's tiny differences because you've got so many of them, perhaps stacked right next to one another, where you've only got a couple of changes in each one. So the further you shift away from your timeline to the left or to the right, okay, maybe that's not how it works in practice, but you get my point, the more changes you will witness. So crossing these timelines, you would probably see bigger changes. But if you're just making a tiny nibble and you've just literally jumped to the next adjacent one, then by and large, most things will be the same. There'll be hardly anything that's different, but there could be a small little change here and there. However, that begs the question, if CERN did do something It's not like they've stopped doing something. What if they did what in 2012 again today? Could that send even more changes? Could we jump again, for instance? Or is this the only jump? So there's questions there. So is CERN at the bottom of all this or not? Or are we just using them as a example because they're doing something which is ultimately very strange? Could that have real repercussions on our timeline?
Well, the thing is, there are serious scientists who are seriously concerned about what's going on at CERN. Now, whether they are saying that because they want to make a name for themselves, which is always a possibility, or whether there really is cause for concern, since I don't understand the physics of what they're doing over there, I can't pontificate. So I'm looking at it from a layman's point of view, and I'm just looking at my cynicism is based on the idea that the energies they're playing with are minuscule compared to universal, even solar energies. I mean, think about the amount of energy the sun is pumping out every second. It obliterates anything that we can do. So even if we sort of detonated all our nukes, I think it'd be like one solar flare. Not even the total output of the sun. So I can't believe that what we do can truly interfere at this point in 2025. So 2026. At this point in 2026, we simply don't have the power to affect macro reality.
Maybe we're asking the wrong question there, because we're assuming that it would need power in order to enforce this jump or ripple effect. Maybe that's not what we're looking at here, because CERN, there is a statistical possibility that they can create a tiny black hole. Do you know that?
Yes.
At CERN. But that depends on the angle that the particles hit one another, and they then have to cause a spin which both particles will then be wrapped in, something like that. But the example is like, to cause that to happen, it's like the moon being hit by a tennis ball or something. The chances of that happening, the example they cited that could happen, yes, in theory there is a possibility of that occurring, but as you rightly say, how much energy is there to create the black hole? Will it then grab all the particles and all the energy around it and grow bigger and then swamp the whole planet and our whole solar system? We don't know. Or is there too low a level of energy in this and it will just die out after a few microseconds, which is the more plausible example if that were to happen. So yeah, they don't know for sure, but the chances of it becoming and creating a huge black hole, unlikely.
Well, they're saying a black hole less massive than about 4,000 tons would evaporate in less than a second.
There you go.
And there's not, sorry?
There you go.
And there's not enough energy on Earth for us to either compress 4,000 tons into a fraction of a millimeter.
Yeah.
So even if CERN were able to do it, it would be an unstable, microscopic black hole. And if you think about what would its event horizon be? I mean, it's microscopic, so the event horizon wouldn't be that big. Ergo, all of us outside of its event horizon, will be unaffected, which means it wouldn't affect fruits of the loom or anything, to be honest.
No.
Yeah, there we go. I find the theory, and you're talking earlier. We started off with the universe being created by a supernatural entity or means, and then you're saying, well, science can't accept it because there's no evidence of that anywhere. There's no evidence of multi-universes either. It's all speculation. So
Well, there are some. It's not just
There's
pure
no-
speculation popped out.
It's it's pure mathematical, magical speculation. There's not an iota of independent evidence, either for that or for.
Well, doesn't Einstein's theory of relativity also prove that there are other dimensions?
Einstein's theory of relativity. If you don't know this, because when I found out, I was shocked myself. Includes a variable. I think I can't remember what it is now. Unfortunately, it goes to a variable for imaginary time. That's all you need to know. That's where I stopped reading. Is imaginary time. Why is that in mathematics? And it's so-called mathematics. And I'm not accepting anything that depends on something imaginary time. If you can't provide me with an experiment that, when they say they've experimented and they've shown that Einstein's theory of relativity has been proven through satellites, because the satellites have to account for relativistic effects.
Yeah.
But a guy in NASA in 1970 something, 73, 74, worked out the exact positioning for all these satellites without relativistic effects. Rather than look at that as an independent possibility, they silenced him.
They're sure about that?
Yes, because it's for this. Whilst you move on to the next thing, I'll find out about him, because I thought, oh, this would be good for Tony, and so I did actually look it up. The point, and I sent you the video. I actually thought that gentleman from.
Never.
Okay. Anyway, so, I'm not convinced. I think
the CERN thing, or you're just not convinced about Einstein now?
About starting with mathematics and then saying that the maths describes a reality we haven't yet seen. If it's okay, I'm perfectly happy when your mathematics describes a reality that we're observing. Like Newton, his mathematics described the motion of the stars and the planets. So he observed an apple falling. I think I don't know if that's actually happened or it's a myth.
Yeah, I think it did happen.
So he saw the apple falling, and then he worked it out, and his mathematics describes that, and it's pretty good on a macro scale. I love that. That's for me. That's science. But to start with maths and then say, well, because this maths is like this, ergo there is something that we can't even observe now. I'm not accepting that at all.
I'm not sure that's exactly how that works, but okay. Let's move on, because I'm mindful of the time. We're getting to the top of the hour. There is a mainstream physics loophole, because there's a thing called quantum retrocausality.
There we go.
And this is the delayed choice quantum eraser. Now, experiments suggest that an action taken in the present can change the path a particle took in the past. Now, that's a weird one. It's like, what? So you can change the past. Could that be the case? And there's a bit of a conundrum at the minute where they're saying, well, we've changed this particle here, so that means where it originated from, how did that change? And it has changed. So they go back and look through time, like when they're observing light coming from stars, it's changed as it got here in a certain way, and that means when you look back, it must have changed all the way back as well. Now, my science isn't that great, but that implies that you're changing the past. Now, could this quantum retrocausality actually be what's happening with the Mandela Effect?
It should certainly be. Again, the field of interaction would be to me so small. I mean, I'm just talking. What do I know? But my instinct would be the field of interaction would be so small it would be confined to a very narrow band area within volume within CERN or wherever this thing took place. But the idea that it can retroactively manipulate things so that what happens now manipulates the past, which is a weird form of time travel if you think about it. Well, I think they've been talking about that for some time, but I'd like to know the specifics of it, of whether it is maths based or observation based. That's what I'd like to know.
It was an odd one. I remember seeing Professor Brian Cox talking about it briefly, and it's still something that's being postulated and thought about. But the initial observation seems to imply that changing it here in a quantum level has changed its effect all the way back to the past. So how, when it's travelled millions of light years, how can you go back and change it? But that doesn't make sense. But I don't know enough about this subject.
Time itself is, I mean, we really can't describe it, can we?
No.
In sort of scientifically, what is it? It's like the man said, the Supreme Court, what was his name again? There's the Supreme Court, very famous U.S. United States Supreme Court Justice, who said, I can't define it, but I know porn when I see it. It's so true. There's some things that just defy life itself. Is the problem. How do you define life? So we're working with concepts which we sort of know about, but not to the degree where we can have any confidence that we're not talking nonsense. That's what I feel.
Indeed.
So I can't poo-poo the CERN thing because I don't know enough about it. I would expect it not to affect all of us, but if it turns out that it did, today, I wouldn't be that surprised.
It's strange. I'm not sure whether anything to do with CERN is the cause, but it does feel odd that there are so many of these coincidences that you just go, huh? You know, where we're adamant we remember those memories, but the reality now, in this reality, doesn't reflect what we remember. So was it our consciousness that has flipped timelines and come across? And was it to do with CERN? I simply don't know. We don't know. This is a speculative episode for sure. But it certainly brings a question to 2012. And 2012 seems to be the point where things have shredded in terms of our timeline. It doesn't seem the same. So, and coincidentally, CERN did actually kick off in 2012, where it had some success. So, is that success causing this additional issue, which we may discover what it was in the future, may then put a stop to CERN, or we won't. We'll just carry on as we are. But hey. Okay, final conclusion.
Sorry, I do need to very quickly correct myself. It wasn't a NASA scientist I was thinking about. It was an American astronomer who served as Chief of Celestial Mechanics at the U.S. Naval Observatory from 1976 to 1983. His name was Tom Van Flandern, and he argued that GPS models do not actually use relativistic calculations. That what they do is they use the relativistic effects, but empirically applied. So not really. I don't know if that explains it. I'll just send you a link so that people can.
I'll put it in. Yeah.
People who are interested can have a look at it. So he's certainly poo-pooed the whole idea. And the woman, the very famous woman, I think she was black, by the way. Somebody, Katherine Johnson. I believe she was black. One of those people that was a film about her, wasn't there? She calculated the for satellites and spacecraft their trajectories using classical geometry and Newtonian physics. She didn't use any relativistic anything. So there we are. Anyway, so there we are. That's me.
Cool. All right, unfortunately, we got to the end of the show. So if you've loved this episode, hit subscribe and stay tuned for more deep dives into prophecies, mysteries, and the unexplained twists of fate. You've listened to Tony and Tyre, and we are the TNT Talk Show. But unfortunately, we have reached the end of the show for another week.